Okay, so welcome everyone to a demonstration on how to transplant your NP3 seedlings from their first home, a seed tray, into pots. I'll be following a script in which the steps have been clearly outlined for us by your fellow NP3 volunteers, Sean Stuckless and John Eldridge, so to credit them. So this is your NP3 seed tray. And when you find that within your tray your seedlings are either more than 1 inch in height, or they have roots that are coming out of the bottom of the cell, this being one tray cell, then you know it's time to transplant your seedling. So the first step is, before removing your seedlings from the tray, you want to give them a good watering. So step one would be to give them a good watering, like so. Now if it is just rained, you won't need to do that. We just want to make sure that the cells are all nice and moist. The next step is, once you've found the seedlings that need to be transplanted, you push that tray cell from below gently, and you'll see that the plug will nicely come out like so. Now first you want to inspect to make sure that the roots are well formed, and here they are. You can see that the roots are extending all the way down to the bottom of the soil. If the roots are not yet well formed, you want to put the seedling back inside the tray. If the roots are either circled or tangled, then you want to gently spread them out. So here's our seedling. You gently tease it apart from any other growth within its tray plug, like so. I'm gently massaging it apart with my fingers. And you'll see there's your seedling, there are its roots. And in this particular case, the roots do not appear to be tangled, and so we're ready to go. So this seedling has well-formed roots. It's about 1 inch in height, and we've disentangled it from its neighbors within the tray cell. So the next step is to prepare the potting medium. The potting medium that you use should be soilless and peat-based, and we're going to provide soil for transplanting free to all plant foster parents. The first thing you want to do, I'm going to put this little guy aside because really this is the first thing to do, is you want to have a bunch of soil in a separate container like this. This is our soil, and you want to break up any lumps that you see. So if it's lumpy, you want to break it up while gradually adding some water to moisten it. So that's not super gradual, but in the interest of time. And now the next step is to make sure that the water is nicely distributed throughout the soil. And so we just break up any lumps and mix the water into the soil. And again, you want to make sure that there are no dry pockets, there are no really wet pockets. And the soil should be not wet to the point where you can wring out any water, but just dampened and moistened nicely. This here is too moist. Now when the seedlings are very small and it's your first transplant, this is roughly the size of pot that I would encourage folks to use. Typically you would transplant a seedling twice, and the second time might be midsummer, late spring, and then midsummer you can move the seedling after it's spent some time growing in this size pot into this larger sized pot. So seeing as today we are transplanting a seedling from the tray for the first time, we're going to use this size pot. So the next step is you want to fill your pot up with that moistened but not drenched soil. So I filled it up like that. I filled the pot to the top. Then firm the potting mix down, and the way to do this is just by giving it a few good taps on your potting bench like that. And that just settles it without compacting the soil too tightly. You do not want to compact it too tightly. The next thing you want to do is top up any underfilled pots. Do not overpack the soil. This is not underfilled. You do want a bit of a lip there, and so we have enough soil there to start the transplant. Using your finger, a pencil, or other suitable tool, such as a popsicle stick or something similar to that, you want to make a hole in the pot that will be the size that will accommodate the seedling. I will insert the seedling into that hole, like so, and then you want to gently push it into place, and you're trying to tuck it in without air pockets. Tuck it into the soil like so. So the roots are all covered up. You've pressed down lightly and you've topped up with potting mix if necessary. In this case, the seedling is nicely snug in there and I do not need to top it up with any potting mix. If you have two seedlings in a plug, you want to separate them carefully, holding them by the crown, which is the junction of the stem and the roots. Not the stem solely, unless it's a really strong, robust seedling, because damage to the stem can severely set back or even kill the plant. The next step would be to water lightly, enough just to settle the soil. I'll do this, although I did drench the soil, so this is far too wet already, but if I had done it correctly, yes, I would want to now lightly water. There we go. Do not drench. And then finally, touch up any pockets that might develop after watering. In this case, he still looks snug. He's not at all swimming around, and he's not loose in his pot, so he doesn't need to be touched up in any way. Finally, once you've transplanted all of the seedlings that you need to transplant at that stage into separate pots, you want to then move them back to that location within your yard which is suitable for the particular species in question for continued growth. And in most cases, this will be a sheltered location that receives mainly shade or part shade, part sun within your yard. And finally, recover those pots just as you had covered your seed tray with a sheet of chicken wire to thwart rodent predation. You want to actually do the same and rig something up around those pots with a nice tent of chicken wire over them so that you can, again, because these tender seedlings are still attractive to rabbits, squirrels, etc., and just secure the ends down with rocks or something. And that is the way to transplant NP3 seedlings from trays into pots.